Welcome to Don't Everybody Leave. Say howdy to Mac King.
So, the previous show that we recorded, I don't know what order we're going to show these in, but the previous show we recorded, our guest Lindsay Benner said how much she enjoyed standing there for 30 seconds without doing anything at the top of her show and letting the audience react to that. So I was trying that right then. It seemed to go less well for me than it did for her. Welcome to Don't Everybody Leave. I am Matt King, and excited you're here. We have one of the great acts, one of the great magic acts in all of, the land. Piff the Magic Dragon, my pal, joining us. Before we bring Piff out, let's bring out, we're a very skeleton crew today. There's some internet issues.
Feel like
and our buddy Vinny is getting ready to do he's heading in to do a magic show. He's one of the people back to work here in Las Vegas. So
an afternoon magic show? Wow.
No, I don't believe he's doing an afternoon magic show. I don't.
That would be stupid.
Yeah. Who would do that? Who would risk their career to do a show in the afternoon in Las Vegas?
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I've never bought a ticket to an afternoon magic show in Las Vegas.
Well, that is in fact true, isn't it?
For the viewer at home, he's never given Mac any of his money. Not a lie.
But attended, how many have you attended? Let's just say.
30, 40.
Yeah, that's right. So,
cheers.
Welcome all. As we do, we try to start most of these shows with who's died since we last got together. And does the name Paul Osher mean anything to anybody?
Not yet.
Probably to somebody, but not the two of us. There's a picture of Paul Osher. Relatively recent photo. So Paul Osher, he's pictured there with a guitar, but he was a blues guitarist, but primarily known as a blues harmonica player, actually, but often played the blues harmonica and guitar and blues piano, often all three at the same time.
Wow.
He had he had the thing. So Nikki's going to put up another picture, and this is Paul Osher at 20.
Which one?
He right?
Well, you said he was a guitarist.
No,
Right?
I see a harmonica, as the French say.
Yeah. So he toured and played for years with Muddy Waters, but he started when he was 20 years old playing the harmonica. And I believe he's the first of our who died this week who died of COVID. So that's a bit of a bummer. But look how cool he is playing the harmonica. So makes up for that.
What a badass. Muddy Waters, one of the legendary blues cats. I mean, up there with B.B. King.
So speaking of musicians, who are you sitting in front of, Jacob?
Oh, two of the best. So this is one of the my favorite Temptations albums of all time, called "The Temptations Do the Temptations." That's the first. It's called that because that's the first album where they were allowed to write all their own material. It was 1976 Motown album of theirs, and it's unbelievable. And the other one is Joseph Williams, who is one of the most
Paul Williams' brother.
It's exactly one of the most Easter egg filled humans. So Joseph Williams is the lead singer in the band Toto, which I love. This is a solo album of his. He is also the voice of adult Simba in The Lion King. He sings Hakuna Matata and Can You Feel the Love Tonight in The Lion King. He is also the son of the greatest film composer of all time, John Williams, who I believe All right, Jason, quickly, how many John Williams scores can you name? What movies?
Oh, he did E.T., Harry
Correct.
Potter, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, Star Wars, Superman. What are we at? 6?
Yeah, that's a pretty good list. And there's a million more. He did every Spielberg movie.
So 1,000,006 he did.
Exactly. But John Williams is the most Oscar-nominated living human. He's 89. He has 52 Oscar nominations. Can either of you? There's only one person ever in history who has more nominations than that. They are no longer alive. Can either of you guess who it is?
Nope.
It's so obvious that it's hard to guess.
Let's see. I would say it's got to be Hervé Villachez.
That's right. Deplane was a favorite. I mean, so popular on television that they decided to give it film awards as well.
He was in Airplane 2, I'll have you know.
If you're going to say the name of that film, you have to say the full title.
The Quest for Peace? I don't know.
Airplane 2, the sequel, is the name of that movie. No, the person who has the most Oscar nominations of all time is
Steven Seagal.
That's right, yeah. And Grammys for Songs from the Crystal Cave.
I could reach for it.
Please reach for it. Please, I want to show it every show if there's a way to do that.
There is a way to do that.
Songs from the Crystal Cave,
there.
which features on guitar Steve Lukather, also from Toto. Boom. It all goes back around. But just to tie that up, I will say that the most Oscar-nominated person in history is Walt Disney.
Well, that's not fair.
You mean because you don't have any?
No, I mean because he didn't draw all that stuff.
So we should probably bring out our buddy. I just went and saw his show. We'll talk to him about that. But I've known him for a number of years. He's one of the great magicians of our time. And here he is, my pal and yours, Piff the Magic Dragon.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Piff the Magic Dragon. Everybody left. It's just 3 of you left now.
I mean, it's a little war of attrition. Yeah, everybody dwindles away. Pretty soon it'll just be me, and then it'll be the show that I envisioned from the beginning.
Then you're into the real gold, Mac.
Yeah.
Good choice.
So what do you call that place? Where are you?
I am in the Piff the Magic Dragon television studio, formerly known as my single car garage. This is what I did when the pandemic hit. I built a TV studio in the garage, and actually we ended up building another one inside the house.
In the what?
In the garage. I have to say garage so you understand me, but what I want to say is garage. It rhymes. How do you say cabbage? You don't say cabbage, do you? No, you say cabbage. Have some consistency, America.
We're getting taken to task on this show.
Hey, you got a Piff mug? Look, I have a Matt King Show mug.
Yeah, I mean, because we get them done and we get the samples and they're free. So,
so during the pandemic, you've taken up taxidermy?
What? Oh no, this is my. Well, look, we were set up to do. I've been working, so we're set up to do a broadcast, and over here is that's a stuffed toy, Mr. Piffles.
Oh, is that available online or something? Could you buy it?
Yeah, you can buy them. They're $30. Now, let me just compare this to the real Mr. Piffles. Hang on a second. This is the real Mr. Piffles. And as you can see,
so you have, in fact, I was making a joke about the taxidermy, but it turns out to be just prescient.
No, that's the real Mr. Piffles. Guitarist was not the only one who died this week. It's good to see you, Matt. Good to see you, Jason. It's okay. It's not bad. I wish I hadn't seen you, Jacob. Honestly, my day was much better. No, it's very nice to see you too. How are you doing?
We've hung out in real life for, I believe, almost 3 minutes.
Almost.
Yeah, just in Mac's backyard. I was going to ask you. We try to kind of get to the bottom of stuff here. If you could tell me what your most and least favorite things about Mac are.
my most favorite thing is that when I came to Las Vegas, the first time I came to Las Vegas, I came to do a magic convention called the IMX or some, I don't know what it was called. Anyway, I never in my life thought I would ever end up living here. So I was just here like on vacation, basically. The second time I came, it was because I was being offered this very long contract at the Cosmopolitan to do a small part in a big show. And I went out for dinner with Mac and said, I'm thinking about, I have this offer. Like, what's it like to live in Las Vegas? And Mac and Penn, both of those, they took me under their wings when I arrived. And the start of it was at dinner. Mac was telling me about what it was like to be here and raise a family. And then when I landed here, Mac invited me to his Thanksgiving, and that was where I met a bunch of magicians. So Mac and Penn basically adopted me in Las Vegas and were the sole reason that I ended up sticking it. So if you want to blame somebody for Piff the Magic Dragon being in Las Vegas, it's basically Matt King and Penn Teller. My least favorite thing is I hardly ever get to see him.
Wow.
That's my least favorite thing. That's just facts.
That's like, I believe that's another one of those examples of like on a job interview, and you say, what's your worst quality?
Perfectionism.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
You just haven't been around enough. Every time we hang out, I'm like, God, we should do this more. Every time. Now, there will come a point when we hang out, I'm sure, and I'll be like, yeah, this is enough. But we haven't reached that level yet,
So Mac, he's saying that you adopted him and that you're not around enough. So I believe he's saying you're a deadbeat dad.
That's a good point. Yeah, there you go. You're
bit
a
of a
terrible
bad
father.
parent. Yeah.
You just walked out on me when I first landed in Las Vegas. You abandoned me to the desert and the vultures.
Well, I didn't think you'd actually. I was very friendly. I felt like until you actually did move here. I didn't think you'd ever actually do that. And then I was like, well, fuck. Now that he's here, I don't want to hang out with him.
Well,
a visit every now and again is great.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a bit of a better pre-game, than haven't you? You should have been a massive dick to me when I first darkened your door.
The other way.
And then I never would be here. I'd be in Croydon somewhere, working at a small bar doing close-up magic. But I once did a restaurant in Croydon. Do you know what Croydon is?
No.
If London is Las Vegas, Croydon is the Reno. It's like that. So I did a restaurant in Croydon once, and I was doing close-up magic there, and it was a very small restaurant, like 50 seats. And I walked up to a couple, and I said, "Hello, I'm the magician. Would you like to see some magic?" And the guy slid his chair across this cold tile floor, and he stood up and he said, "My wife has just asked me for a divorce. Do you really think I want to see some fucking magic?" And I was like, "No, because she just made half your house disappear." And I got fired immediately. That was it. I was out the door.
Oh,
That's why I needed to become a dragon in order to make that stuff hilarious.
I have no idea what I was going to say.
Typical. This is typical of my father. He just comes in drunk to these conversations. I never see him. And when I do, he just stumbles in at 3 a.m., smelling of whiskey, just like unable to remember what he was going to say to me. How about "I love you, son"? How about that?
I love you, Piff.
There you go.
wow. This has been so much more important than I expected it to be.
It's a real reunited moment. I actually already have an adopted father, and that's Penn Teller when he plays Pop the Magic Dragon in his dragon outfit. So I've
seen photos of that. I've seen photos. It's pretty amazing. That's a lot of green satin that you had to shell out money for.
It was, no kidding, it was about 40% more expensive than my outfit because it was so much more material. I didn't realize they charged by the foot, but they do, and it was genuinely 40% more expensive. A good dragon outfit will set you back $3,200. The Penn Teller dragon outfit was $5,000.
Well, here's a question.
We went halves on it, if that was the answer.
Okay, that's okay. No, what's the Piff Twitter handle? I can't ever remember.
The Piff.
The Piff.
Yeah.
So I engage with you on there sometimes. I mean, by that I mean I look at what you tweet.
Yeah.
And my favorite, I believe, so far.
So I can also tell you whether I actually wrote it.
Okay. Well, Melinda, this was a response that you.
Oh no.
To a woman named Melinda, whose last name I don't need to go into, but wrote, "Sorry, but your kind of humor doesn't strike a chord with me. In fact, I am totally amazed that anyone thinks you are funny."
Yeah.
To which you replied, "Apology accepted."
Yeah. Well, you know, I just wanted to let her know that that her request was received with an open heart. Yeah, that was actually one of mine. Yeah, that was that had the Piff the Magic Dragon touch.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, do you get that, Mac? I get it all the time. People going out of their way to tell me how much they hate me.
No, I don't.
I mean, fortunately, I get many people going out of their way to tell me that they don't hate me. That they say the very opposite. Well, let me look it up. Let me look up our TripAdvisor page. It's
this is gonna be great.
It's not doing too badly at the moment. There are when we first came back, because we were doing shows, we were the first headliner. Well, we, Miss the Dog and I, were the first headlining show back on the Strip. And when we opened, we were like a guinea pig, a lot like your guinea pig, but
less tasty.
Living, but having a much worse life than your guinea pig. And I know how badly you treat that animal. So you know. So when we came back, it was a nightmare because we had to incorporate all of this COVID stuff, and so we just got nothing but 1 stars at the beginning. 850 reviews. Here we go. And let's see, 723 5-star reviews. Bam. 65 very good. So that's 4 stars. 28 averages. Okay. 9 paws. I've got 9 paws. Usually dragons only have 2, but I've got 9. And 25 terribles. Now, obviously, who cares about the 5 stars? So let's go straight to the terribles. And not impressed. An hour into the show, nasty jokes that weren't even funny. How do you know they were jokes then? They could have just been nasty facts. 3 illusions, not impressed. Walked out early. At least I saved you some time.
How do they know there weren't 20 more tricks after they walked out?
Exactly, they walked out early. But you know, maybe they were like, "Oh, we'd love to go to see the Bellagio fountains. We don't have time. The Piff the Magic Dragon show is 75 to 85 minutes, depending on how funny he is. Let's hope for a short show. Hey, I know how to make this shorter. Leave early. Bam. Bellagio fountains for you." How can they sleep? Not funny magic a 3-year-old might like. That doesn't make sense. Not funny magic. A 3-year-olds wouldn't like not funny magic. You know, imagine a 3-year-old digging Renee Levant. 3-year-old would be like, "Oh, hey, Renee, just tell us one more time that poem. Slower, but slower. Please, slower." Anyway, we could keep going, but I'm not sure that we should. Go to Piff the Magic Dragon's TripAdvisor review. There are 23 other classics for you to enjoy.
Holy shit.
Thank you, Piff. That was lovely.
You're welcome.
So, speaking of reviews of your show and who should be reviewing it and not reviewing it, I went to the Piff the Magic Dragon show just a few days ago, a few evenings ago. And I went to see the Piff the Magic Dragon show, and I've seen many iterations of the Piff the Magic Dragon show. And I'm certain this is the finest of the Piff the Magic Dragon shows I've seen. It was so good, so different. You had gotten, because of COVID restrictions and audience size restrictions, you'd gotten moved into the main showroom at the Flamingo. That's a much bigger room, much bigger stage, and man, it's your new show fills that stage, goes all the way to the back of the room, and there's such a interesting vibe to me, unlike any other magic show. No, in a good way, in a really good way. It's unlike any other magic show that I've seen. I mean, it's like, I mean, I really don't know how to describe it other than to say so unusual, and it's just a unique experience, unlike any other magic show I've been to, and in such a great way.
What's unusual about it? Is it tense? Is it not funny? That
no,
is it like funny. A 3-year-old?
It's still funny. It's still funny. Well, it was really great. I didn't really know what to expect in that room, and I knew you from talking to you that you've been working on new stuff, but it was just. I mean, I had high expectations and they were exceeded. I mean, I don't want to call it a production show now, but the production value is higher than any other show you've ever done. Felt like to me. But it still has. So it has that, but it also still has that vibe of you walking around, really relaxed and not giving a shit too. Right. That's such an interesting combination to me, and. I don't know anybody who has that, really.
I think it's like, that's the thing that I've always struggled to bring together, because when I'm on a TV show like Penn Teller Flawless or America's Got Talent, these are like multi-million-dollar shows that they've put all this money into the production of. And then it's hilarious that I walk around and don't care, And the idea that I can sort of be an interloper on these shows works really well. But when it's like your own show, it's a very difficult balance to achieve.
Because, that's it. Yeah, in a way, I mean, I'm just thinking about it now as we chat, but in a way, it's sort of like the weird, how difficult it is to combine the comedy and the magic too. I mean, sometimes they get in each other's way. Right. And so, that not give a shit and high production value is a similar sort of, it can be a similar, headbutting.
I think so. I mean, it's so difficult to bring comedy and magic together because, and I've seen this, when you make somebody really laugh, they sort of like close their eyes, they bend over, they're like slapping each other, they're falling off their chair. And then when you do a killer magic trick, they just feel like they missed something because they weren't really watching that hard, Right. Whereas I've seen so many performers, there's nothing in it but the magic trick. And so there's no way you can miss anything because you're just like, okay. Oh my God, how did that happen?
So I was curious, how long into being a magic dragon did you decide to have Mr. Piffles along with you? Did you write that first, or did you have a dog first and love that? Or
no, I didn't. I never had a dog. I thought I grew up with cats, and then I've since realized how terrible creatures those things are. And God, they're just absolute energy sucks. They just come at you. I mean, it's like, when you have like people around you and you're like, what do you bring to my life that is good? That's a cat, without exception. So, but at the time I didn't know that. And I was in Edinburgh and I was doing my first hour-long show. And really, honestly, I thought this act needs something. This is not going to sustain an hour. It needs like another level to it. And I was like, God, I gotta try and find a gimmick. And my friend who was running the venue, she had a Chihuahua. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. We tried it and it killed. And I was like, no, the dog didn't. There were 3 dead. There were 3 dead that day. Yeah. But it was so funny that the next day I went out and rescued Mr. Piffles. He was like, they were, a family was trying to get rid of him. And over about 3 months, he just morphed into this thing you see now, which is just like, he's just a show business gift. He has this incredible deadpan, and we've been together now for 11 and a half years, I think. and you know, it's my longest relationship. He's shown me more love than any, you know, more consistently than any human has ever been able to. And he's 13 years old now, so I'm like, oh my God. But Chihuahuas live it. They have a good innings. Hopefully, he'll get to 20 or something.
I had a little dog that made it to 18.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, the bigger they are, the shorter lived they are. But yeah, he's got a good chance at being around longer than Mac.
Well, he's also shown Piff more love than Mac, who's never fucking around.
That's
Yeah,
right.
at least he's there, Mac. At least he comes home. You know, he's not off carousing with unnamed women who just turn up and pretend to be my mother.
That seems like sounds like to me just a smidge of jealousy.
Yeah, it is. I'm very jealous of those.
Yeah.
The way those women hold you is all
Yeah,
I
right.
want. Is all I want.
Guys, I feel like we're making a lot of progress here today.
Yeah.
Piff, if you had to tell us what your favorite films of all time are, what would you say?
Number one is Blade Runner.
Ooh,
Probably.
Which version?
I'm a director's cut kind of guy. I'm not the final cut. You're not interested. I feel like I sat there and went, the other one was just as good. My second favorite film is Mulholland Drive, which
Lynch.
which I loved because I watched it and it kind of like sat in my head like it all made sense. And then as soon as I started to talk about it, it fell apart. So then I watched it again and it sat in my head like it made sense. And then I started to talk about it and it fell apart again. So I watched it again and it sat in my head like it made sense. And I stopped talking about it. And I love it.
Wow.
And then
That's
my
a
third
blue-
and final movie is Being John Malkovich, which is one of the greatest movies of all time. I mean, the writing in it is just off the charts.
Did you?
Derek Delgadio and I saw Being John Malkovich in the theater when it was first released and knew nothing about it.
Right.
We just
I did the same.
just
Yeah.
walked into the theater, and I remember about when he gets kicked out of Malkovich's head onto the side of the New Jersey Turnpike the
Right.
first time, Delgadio and I looked at each other like, what the fuck are we watching?
If you had to rate me out of 5 for my cultural choices, what would it be? Because if it's more than 3, I'd ask you to leave that review on TripAdvisor itself.
I was gonna say, but I left partway through the movie recommendations because I was not impressed.
Well, okay. Please don't. That's more of a Yelp review. I can afford my Yelp to go down in flames because the big hitters on Yelp. TripAdvisor is still in the balance.
Sorry, but your movie reviews doesn't strike a chord with me. In fact, I am totally amazed that anyone thinks you have any idea what's a good film.
Apology
That's
accepted.
Yeah.
Piff, how many shows a year were you doing before the pandemic hit?
400.
You guys tied, or how's that work?
No, I was doing like 500.
Yeah, but Matt was doing them in the same place, to be fair.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
I
a
was
contest.
running around America.
Yeah, no,
and
you
Canada.
were doing like weekends or something at the
Right.
Flamingo, and then on the road
Opposite.
or
We were
the
doing
other way
opposite.
around.
We were doing weekends on the road and weekdays at the Flamingo.
Yeah, you were doing 7 days a week, right? You were doing just hopping
Yeah.
on a plane after a show and going to do comedy clubs, right?
Yeah. And we did that like 49 weeks a year. It was brutal.
One of the highlights of my show business life, this is strange to say, was the couple of weeks of shows that we did, me and you and Penn and Friends at the Rio.
One of the greatest magicians in the world, my dear friend, Matt King!
Yeah, I was really so happy to be a part of that, and it was fun watching you from the wings, and also it was fun I have to say, you know, sitting next to Penn, I felt like we were like two old men, like in a nursing home.
Right.
There was two chairs off to the side, and you know, I would come off stage and take the shit out of my pockets, and then come and sit next to Penn, and we would cross our legs like old men, and have tea while you were out on stage, and we would just talk. And so it wasn't seeing you so much; it was sitting next to Penn and talking.
Yeah, right. While your forgotten son is out paying your bills. Is that what it was like, Mac?
Yeah, correct. Yes, that's right.
You know, it was so great because it was like this real sense of like, here are three buddies doing what they love doing. And and the other thing about it was that, and I believe it was the same for you, you know, Glenn called me and said, would you consider doing these shows? And I was like, yes, of course, you know, yeah. Whatever the conditions are, yes, I'll be there. You know, just being a part of it was just great. And I was just like, this is my idea of perfection. Not really doing my own show. You know, I love doing an hour, but the amount that goes with it to have to like keep that ball rolling is like, what's that Greek myth when you're just constantly squashed by the boulder that is constantly rolling down at you? That's how
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Yeah, that's how I feel about being a solo performer in show business, just constantly pushing that dog up a hill. But you know, when it was like me, you, and Penn, it's just like, I mean, that is just the dream. So it was just like 2 weeks in paradise for me. I loved it.
We did the three of us did a bit together at the end of the show, and you had like maybe 2 lines.
Yes.
And by the end of the 2 weeks, you still had not memorized those 2 lines.
No, I have a real Achilles heel about that. And what happens is I just get this voice in my head that is just like, you don't know them. You don't know them. You're never going to learn them. Yeah, you could. What are you going to say next? You could say anything. It's going to be wrong. Everything you say is going to be wrong. And I, you know, it's just like trying to concentrate in a hurricane. So didn't I just read them out on cue cards?
Oh yeah, you brought out cue cards. You had cue cards in you know, one of the 75 pockets in that dragon suit.
Yeah. And that was the last they ever saw of Jason England.
We could only hope.
Do you now feel comfortable telling Piff that you love him? Now that it's just us? We can move on. So, Piff, do you have any bands that you like? Yeah,
so you regaled us with one pretty terrible story, but there must be other really nasty.
I can tell you one from the Flamingo. I got an 8-year-old child up on stage, and as you know, I believe everyone should be treated equally, and therefore I often enjoy shouting as loudly as I can at children and as aggressively as possible. And most of them love it because, you know, most of them love being treated on the same level as the adults that they've seen on stage. And some of them get very upset and start crying. Now, this was not one of them. This kid definitely was not about to start crying. But I was, you know, there like shouting. And I turned round and he was holding Mr. Piffles and I was shouting about something about a Rubik's Cube. And I turned round and I saw Mr. Piffles flying through the air up into the sky about 8 foot into the air in my showroom. Now my showroom is already, you know, the old showroom. I was already about 4 feet off the ground. And I was like, why is my dog soaring into the audience? And I just saw the whole thing in slow motion. And everything stood still. And this woman in the front row, she stood up, she reached up over her head and she caught the dog behind her head. She caught Mr. Piffles behind her head. She brought him back round and she sat him on her lap. And the whole room was silent. And I said to her, did you just catch my dog? And she said, yes. And I said to the kid, "Did you just throw my dog?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, I think you should leave the stage now. I think you should just go back to your seat now." And I said, "Okay, for the next trick." And we just carried on through the show because the audience was so angry with this child that I was like, this child is about to be murdered. This child is about to be murdered by a room full of people. And all I could do is minimize it and pretend that really this kid didn't know what he was doing. And it was just and it all worked out fine because this woman caught the dog over her head like that. And in all I'm thinking while this is going on is this loud voice in my head going, "Oh my God, an 8-year-old just threw your dog into the audience and your dog almost died. That's right. Your best friend of 10 years almost just fell to his death in front of a room full of 200 people while you stood there shouting at an 8-year-old. Is that how you want to be remembered?" and honestly, it took months for that trauma to go, like absolutely months. And every time I would release Mr. Piffles, I was like, "Oh, buddy, I hope this person doesn't throw you into the sky." But it was just bizarre. And we had, the family of the kid who threw the dog, they just left after the show like nothing had happened. And the woman who had caught the dog, I brought her down afterwards and I was like, "Listen," I brought her and her family down to the dressing room and said, "I just want to say thank you so much. I can't thank you enough." Clearly, I couldn't thank her enough. You saved the life of Mr. Piffles. It's my longest relationship. He makes up for the father that I never had, and I said, "Obviously, if you ever want to come and see the show again, you've got a lifetime supply of Piff the Magic Dragon tickets." And she said, "Oh, well, I actually purchased my tickets tonight, so I think that will do." She'd already bought her lifetime supply, and that was 2 tickets. Cool. That was like a physical altercation at the Piff the Magic Dragon show. That was pretty brutal. And then Shania Twain invited me and Jade out for dinner that night, and we were too traumatized to go, so we never got to go out with dinner to dinner with Shania Twain because of some douchebag 8-year-old.
I had, a similar thing. I don't have any dogs in the show, but I have caught a goldfish out of the air, dropped it into a glass the little girl was holding, standing next to me, and she looked at it and she went, "Ah!" and just threw the glass down on the ground. Glass, it's a glass, like shatters, water, fish flopping.
Oh.
And so
what did
I don't remember. I have another glass on stage and I said, "Are you okay? Is everybody good?" And the front row had gotten a little wet, but turns out nobody had gotten glass in their eye or anything. And I picked up the fish, dropped it in the other glass, and I said, "Do you want to sit down?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Do you want? There's more to this trick if you would like to be a part of it, but you have to promise not to drop this glass." And she promised. And so I spit a fish, did the bit where I spit the fish into her glass. Now I only have one glass, so there's 2 fish swimming around in there, and I took the glass from her quicker than I normally would. And she sat down. But
do you ever think about this though, Mac? Is that I can remember, I remember when I was much younger and there was a magician and something fell off the stage or something. So I walked up to as an audience member, I just walked up to help him. And his instinct was to make a joke of me helping and call me out for it. That was his way of that was what he did on stage. And I felt terrible. I was like, "Oh, I just feel really embarrassed now. I'm never going to live this down. Oh, this is the worst." And I can, even talking about it, I still feel that feeling. And we have these people on stage and we're creating these lifetime memories. And I'm just like, oh, the pressure I feel when somebody comes on stage. And, you know, like you have a kid like dropping a goldfish. I had a kid. So I could berate, I could say, what's wrong with you? Why would you? That's a real glass. Why would you fucking drop a glass? You right.
Stupid 6-year-old.
Right.
But I mean, that's, it's like you said. I mean, she wasn't trying. I think she was startled and didn't know what to do. And I've never had that happen before. But I mean, I don't.
It was involuntary.
I don't think it was vicious. I don't think she was like, I hate this goldfish and this show.
Right. See, no, I think the kid I had up actually did like had a little bit of a loose connection somewhere and did throw the dog intentionally, maybe because they thought it was funny. Now that doesn't mean that it was like, there was any sort of like evil behind it or whatever, but I think
it wasn't done necessarily with malice. It's just,
right.
Yeah.
It's just like, you just have that wrong connection in your head and a wrong impulse, and you do something, and you're 8. Everything's still forming. So I'm like a big believer in trying to like get people. Like when people come onto the stage, it's like, hey, I put you in this situation, so let me try and get both of us out of whatever the hell you've just done.
Right? Yeah.
Rather than like throwing them under the bus.
Yeah. I don't believe I had the trauma that you did that prompted me to do that. But I mean, it's, but it just seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah. It's like we were invited. I mean, I had a kid, they peed themselves on stage. And I was like,
I had that too. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this could be like, I mean, fortunately, I got that kid off the stage without anyone really figuring out what happened. And like, I think like we all got away with it, but it's like, oh my God, it's just like now the flip side to this is you're also like creating the memories where they're heroes. Because I also have like great experiences of being on stage and with a magician, and the magician made me into a hero. I remember like doing the linking rings and like linking them myself, because the magician let me do that, and being like, oh my God, I have magic powers. This is the greatest day of my life. So like, that's like one end of the scale. And then the other end is you can also create deep psychological scars that can only be cured by your father returning home. But he's too busy out there swanning around Las Vegas with Lance Burton. Isn't he, Matt Q?
I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone.
It's no problem. I was just saying how you abandoned me.
I believe those are some of the best heckler stories we've ever had on this show.
I don't want to give away too much, but a kid is scared. I'm trying to, I'm trying to keep that one thing off the internet, that one trick. But a kid is scared. I had a kid run into the wings, and the audience is howling, and my mic is still live, and I go chasing him after him, and it must have been something. The guy backstage. There's one guy, one of my guys backstage, but he must have had to go getting ready for. Oh, he was still on stage. He was wearing a bear suit. So I run off stage, and the kid's gone. He's just gone. And I'm talking to the audience. They can't see me, but I'm talking to the audience and saying, John, where are John? And I'm looking around, and there was an upright piano back there in the corner backstage for another show. And he was down back behind that piano, crouched over, huddled up behind that piano. And I felt simultaneously terrible and elated. He came out, and the audience applauded. The kid came out, audience applauded. I said, "There's more. There's more if you want to be part of this next thing, or you can sit down, whatever you want." and he stayed, and so it was okay. But again, you're talking about creating memories for. It's not just the people that are on stage with you; it's people in the audience too, where they go home saying, "I was at the Piff Magic Dragon show the day whatever happened," and that's all you can wish for, really.
Yeah, that's what every night it's like. Can you get something that they go home and tell that story? Because that's like that's the dream, really. We're trying to do a bit at the moment about a kid slaying a dragon. That's like one of the things that we're working on, because I just think it's like you put like.
So wait, before you go on with that story,
yeah.
How long have you been doing the dragon thing?
11 years.
Okay. And so it took 11 years for you to figure out you should have a kid slay a dragon. I mean, it never occurred to me either. But I mean, I guess I don't think about your show quite as much as I think about mine. But still, it seems like that would be like the second thing you thought of. Like first you would think of breathing fire, and then the second you would have a kid slay you.
And I was always like making these jokes about like, oh, England's a terrible place because their patron saint is St. George. You literally slay dragons. Never put it together. It took me 10 years to get that. At the end of the day, you're going to have people apologize to you on Twitter, and that's just the way it goes.
I'm glad you accepted her apology.
Yeah, I'm a bigger dragon.
Things we always end with a quote. But before I get to the quote, one last little thing. I mean, I want to thank Nikki Sokolsky and Neon Pineapple, and I want to thank Jacob Jax and Jason England. I don't think there's any reason to thank anybody else who's usually on the show.
No, I mean Jason should only get a half thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say I love you, son.
Oh, this is the moment. This is why I'm here, Mac.
Well,
I'd like to apologize for cheating on you with Penn Teller. I'd like to put that out there. I was weak. I was vulnerable, and you always say yes to what's there. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Well, I do love you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Let's end with our quote from my good pal George Clinton. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a junkie by the toe. If he holler, let him go. If he don't, do the loose booty. See you next week. Don't everybody leave. I'm Matt King. Thanks.
Okay, you tell them. All right, you ready? You tell them.
Hey, hit the button to subscribe, okay?
He said it.